What up, everybody? This is your boy Dedrian from House of Rasslin, and this is my review for the September 7th episode of AEW Dynamite. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification so that way you are notified when House of Rasslin drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Man, tonight's Dynamite was very, very interesting. It had a lot of interest, intrigue, curiosity in the aftermath of what transpired at All Out and the media scrum and what everyone has been talking about on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, podcast, whatever you name it. They've been talking about it for the last 2 days. Tonight's show, for what they had to deal with the past 2 days, and by they, Tony Khan and the management in AEW, I do got to say they turned something that was very, very ugly into something very promising tonight. Tonight's episode for me, this felt like a Dynamite from last year when they first left out of Daly's place, where it was just like, all right, AEW's been in the Daly's place, had to because of the pandemic, but it's like, okay, now we can get out of Daly's place. All right, let's go. Let's get this thing going. And that's what it felt like tonight. Like, okay, let's get out of this dark cloud or shadow, what happened on Sunday. Let's get to where we need to get to. And we got the men and women here to get us there. Let's go. Let's get this thing rolling. And that's what it felt like. And especially with the first segment, it had a different vibe. It had a different feeling. There was it felt like a renewed enthusiasm, and it really felt like we were getting something fresh and new. It wasn't something fresh and new that we already knew. This was like something fresh and new, like, hey, I don't know what's going to happen, but what's happening now, I'm liking it. So let me go on this ride. That's what it felt like. And this was really cool. So before I go through this whole episode of Dynamite, I'm going to give the results. But as I give the results, I am going to give a little bit of the backstory for a few of these matches because it coincides with the first segment that transpired. So they did a recap of MJF and his group and him getting the shot or the chip to get a shot at the AEW World Championship. And then after that, they cut to Tony Khan addressing the AEW World title and the AEW Trios Championship situation. Basically, they're vacated. The AEW Championship is vacated. The AEW Trios Championship is vacated. He did not mention Punk, Omega, the Young Bucks, nothing. And commentary did not mention them. As a matter of fact, I do not recall seeing them on the opening video package. So it was just like, ooh, this is a message sent. Got to do what you got to do. So the first match was Death Triangle versus Best Friends, and the winner of that match were going to be the new AEW Trios Championship. And then the second to last match, which was Bryan Danielson and Hangman Page, was a part of the tournament that Tony Khan announced. And that tournament, Hangman Page and Bryan Danielson, who wrestled tonight, the winner of that would go on and face Chris Jericho. And then on Friday, Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin would face each other, and the winner of that would go on to face Jon Moxley. The winner against Moxley and Jericho would go on and face each other at the finals at AEW's Grand Slam, September 21st, which is in 2 weeks. So kudos to AEW to figuring out how to get that title situation somewhat figured out. I know a few people were kind of upset, like, man, how come Eddie Kingston isn't in there? That's neither here nor there. There's reasons why especially when you're doing stuff on short notice. You just got to things together, and who knows? He might be one of the first challengers of whoever the champion is at Grand Slam. Things can change. Weird things can happen. But I'm looking forward to seeing who is going to face each other at Grand Slam and be the new AEW World Champion. And also, here's something to think about. What if, and a lot of people were saying this should have happened last Sunday, that the Joker should have asked for their title shot, defeated Punk, and become the new AEW World Champion, which, in hindsight, I think they should have done it with everything that happened, but that's neither here nor there. Who knows? From this time till September 21st, MJF might say, hey, I want to face the winner of that match at Grand Slam and see what happens. So anything can happen. I really do like this because AEW, it does feel like tonight that anything can happen on their show. So looking forward to it. So getting back to the results, Death Triangle, they defeated Best Friends. So they are the new AEW Trios champions. Tony Storm defeated Penelope Ford. Solid match. You had Wardlow, who basically destroyed Tony Nese. That was a squash match. And we had Bryan Danielson, who defeated Hangman Page, which means next week we're going to get Chris Jericho and Bryan Danielson part 3 is what they said. 2, 3, I don't know. It's the rematch, basically. And the winner of that goes to the finals at Grand Slam in New York, September 21st. And in the main event, you had Wheeler Yuta face Daniel Garcia, and Daniel Garcia defeated Wheeler Yuta for the Ring of Honor Pure Championship. That's pretty cool. That's dope. I like it. It was a hometown crowd. Really cool. So this was the results of AEW Dynamite. So it wasn't anything too outlandish or anything like that, but this was you could kind of see who was going to win, but it was that good predictability where it's like, okay, I could see who could win, but then there's just like, well, they could go this way. Well, they could go. It was pretty good. So it opened up with, like I said, the recap of MJF and his group. Tony Khan got boos when he did his announcement, which it did look like it was pre-recorded. I could be wrong. Again, he announced that the titles were vacated, the Trios title as well as the AEW World Championship. He announced the tournament. MJF comes out. He came out to a huge crowd reaction. The crowd was cheering him. He ate it up. He did such a good job that, like, for me, it didn't cross my mind, oh, he's joking, or I don't believe him. Like, it was like, yo, this dude's over. Like, he's like, dude, this dude's over. I made the comparison that it's similar to when I tweeted that it's similar to The Rock when he left the corporation, but it's actually very reminiscent of the brief time where The Rock lost the Intercontinental title to Triple H at SummerSlam 98, and when he went to the corporation in November of 98. Like, the first 20 minutes of this segment was like, okay, this is how MJF is. And honestly, the way it does sound like MJF will eventually become their top babyface, because he got a loud reaction. The crowd was behind him when he said his name. I'll be the new champion. Maxwell, they said it along with him. The guy's over. AEW has quite a list of guys that are over. MJF's one. The Acclaimed are over. Hook is over. You can throw in Jungle Boy is over. FTR is over. Wardlow is over. Of course, Danielson and Moxley, those guys are over. Yuta's over. Daniel Garcia's over. I'm trying to think of who else. For now, these guys are over. There's probably going to be more guys that are eventually going to get over. But man, this was very telling and very, I don't want to say eye opening, but just very like, hey, this is a teaser. Like, look, this is what the future could look like with MJF as a face. And he was over. He ate it up, but eventually he was interrupted by Jon Moxley. Moxley came out. He's like, you know what, cut the crap. You're faking it. You're this, you're that. Long story short, MJF, he says, I don't care about these people. I'm going to use the world title as a bargaining chip in 2024. He mentions, and these are his words, maybe I take the title to a real wrestling company with real wrestling fans and real wrestlers like the American roller coaster, Cody Rhodes. He mentioned, briefly mentioned Triple H is like the game and Nick Khan, and finishes it off with that's what's best for business. And then Moxley, he told, get out the ring, blah, blah, blah. Moxley gives one of the most passionate, fiery, and just like, yo, this is what AEW is about. He said he wants the ball and he wants to run with. He's like, I know I dropped the ball on Sunday and not retaining the title, but I want the ball back. And I recommend you guys go watch that promo after you finish this review. Moxley was the perfect person to say that promo because let's face it, if Moxley does not debut at Double or Nothing in 2019, does AEW really have the momentum that they started off with going into their first show on TNT? Do they really have it? No, they don't. Because his shocking debut, everyone at the time thought he was going to re-sign with WWE, and yeah, it's new upstart, AEW, boom, boom. And no, he jumped, and it was like, whoa, okay, this is what AEW is about, and okay, this is why he's here, and okay, this is cool. Great promo. Check it out. Then, of course, we get the first match, Death Triangle and Best Friends. This was a great match to start off with. Like I said, there was just something fresh and renewed about this match. And just the first segment of Dynamite, like this match just flowed with it. Like it was just something renewed. Like I've seen, and we've all seen the Death Triangle and the Best Friends wrestle over and over again, but it just felt like something was different. Like, hey, like these guys are like, they're not doing this loop. Like, no, they broke the loop. They broke the proverbial sphere that was over them. Like they broke it. Like they're somewhere. There was freshly squeezed chants. Orange Cassidy, his hot tags, man, the crowd ate it up. They were into it. Danhausen, cool spot. He cursed Alex Alejandres. And then Hamres did the zero as he attempted to it. Danhausen hit him in the midsection. Then you had Pac come out, and Danhausen tried to curse him, and then he just super kicked him, which was crazy. But man, it was a fast pace, a lot of counters, near falls. There was a point where everyone did their signature move. Everyone, all 6 men did their signature move, which was man, that was so slick. It reminded me of the SmackDown where I think it was right before Survivor Series 2001 where everyone did their finisher. Maybe they got that from WWE. But man, that was so cool. Then Death Triangle perform in sync. And by not the band, but just in sync. All 3 men perform not the Death Triangle. The 3 Canadian destroyers in sequence. So they did it all I want was like, whoa, like it was so cool. Check it out. Then Pac did his fucking arrow moonsault thingamajigga. 1, 2, 3. They win. Death Triangle is the new AEW Trios champions. And honestly, let's face it, man, they have been the workhorses for Trios matches in AEW. They have fought the House of Black. They fought Andrade and Roosh and Dragon Lee. They fought the Young Bucks and Adam Cole. They fought, I believe they fought Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Bobby Roosh. They fought, was it Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt, and those, like, all the trios matches you could think of. The Death Triangle were pretty much in all of them. And man, kudos to AEW for giving them the strap, because they've been the workhorses. They have put on matches. They were the guys that were there, that were just killing it and still in the show. And kudos to Ray Phoenix, man, coming back from that arm injury at the beginning of the year, which was gruesome, but man, he's there. But this was a good match, man. This was fun. Like, this was so much fun. Then we get a backstage segment with Dark Order. They're there. All of a sudden, they're interrupted by Jose, Andrade's assistant, and he goes directly to number 10. He's like, hey, Andrade wants you to join him. And of course, the rest of the Dark Order, Johnson, were like, no, can't do that. Andrade interferes. He's like, I want you, number 10. And then they're talking Rush and everything, and he hands him the Crusher, like, that's yours. So, very interesting why they want number 10. Honestly, I think it's needed for 10 to go on his own. If you've seen the vlogs or anything without his mask, the guy has a look. He has a presence. I think it's time to get him away from Dark Order for a while and let him be that guy. Very interesting storyline. I do think with what's happened and transpired in AEW in the last 24 hours, I do think that we will see more of Andrade in the ring and Roosh. Of course, with the trios titles and everything. So I think we're going to see something unfold with those guys. Then we get a recap of the AEW Women's Championship. Then we get a video of Jamie Hayter storming off and Britt Baker trying to calm her down, like, hey, I'm sorry. And Jamie Hayter's like, no, forget out of here. You know what you were doing and this. So we have the very genesis of the Jamie Hayter, Britt Baker feud, which should be good. It's been a long time coming that it was going to happen and everything. There was signs and everything. So it's like, all right, this should be cool. Then we get the Toni Storm versus Penelope Ford match. Really cool match. The crowd was into it. Penelope Ford reminds you of like Scarlett Brodeur from WWE with Karrion Kross. Like, very good look. I honestly wish they would do, because they have Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti, I really do wish they would do more of the mixed tag matches, because Sammy Guevara and Tay are the mixed tag champions for AAA. Why not do that in AEW and just, you have couples there, just have them do that. So, very interesting. But man, this match, back and forth, it was a lot of counters and strikes, and like, the strikes were they're laying it in. There was a lot of Irish rips to the turnbuckles, which, man, they laid it in. But in the end, Toni Storm blocked I believe she was trying to do a hip toss, and it turned into a DDT. It looked kind of, but she got it. She executed 1, 2, 3. Toni Storm won. They really didn't have anything as far as like teasers, like somebody who's their next opponent or anything like that. It did, like, tonight, I'll probably repeat this again in this video, but it did feel like tonight was like a casual reset to AEW, which you got the roster that's deep. Let's go. But I'm looking forward to Adam Cole returning. Then we had a recap of Angelo Parker and Hook's match. You get a video package similar to Britt Baker's where, they're showing back and forth. And Action Bronson and Hook could be facing 2.0, possibly at Grand Slam. I believe they announced it or they teased it. I can't remember because, again, AEW still has this thing where they'll mention hey, I'll face, if you want, we go down at such and such event, and you're like, so is it going to happen? And then there's no announcement. Then the next Rampage, oh, they're fighting. It's like, oh, okay. So, hey, Action Bronson, I know there was a report that he's training to become a wrestler, which, I have no problem with it. Hey, yeah, all these celebrities want to get into professional wrestling and take those bumps. More power to them. But hey, if they got a name and it just brings more eyeballs to the sport, hey, that's fun, man. More people watching, more people enjoying, more people talking. It helps all of us, man. This is fun. Then we get the Acclaimed. So the Acclaimed come out, and holy crap, this has to be the most over group of guys in AEW. Very over. Super, super over. This is organic over. So as they're coming down to the ring, and Swerve is about to start a rap. It's not Swerve. Max is about to start a rap. He's like, yo, 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 and whose house? Swerve's house. Swerve comes out, and he comes out to a bunch of boos. They are booing him. Boo. And mind you, Swerve hasn't done anything heelish that we normally see. And he mentions, hey, man, these lame raps, you guys being champs, that's the lamest rap, and blah, blah, blah. So you get a huge a-hole chant for Swerve Strickland. Billy Gunn, he grabs the mic, and it's so cool because I didn't think about it till he grabbed the mic, and he's like, hey, I got some for you. This is Daddy Ass's house. I was like, what? He's a great mouthpiece for them. They don't need a mouthpiece because they can talk, but in a way they do. People got to remember, granted, Road Dogg was the one that, talked, and this, he was the hype man. But remember, Billy Gunn was the last guy to finish off. I got 2 words for you. He was the microphone that got everything else. So this was pretty cool. So they announced we're getting the Acclaimed and Swerve in Our Glory at Grand Slam. I know that was discussed at the media scrum, and Swerve and Keith, they don't deserve it, blah, blah, blah. We'll see what happens on Grand Slam and see where this goes. Then we get a backstage segment with Jericho, Sammy, Tay, and Anna J. And I'm trying to find the quote. There we go. I got it. So in this promo, Jericho mentions, I found the fountain of youth. He mentioned some weird thing of BC, something like that. Shivani's like, what? Then he says this quote. And he's talking about the AEW tournament for the AEW World Championship. And he says, it's my championship. AEW is my company. And this is my effing locker room. And no one is taking that away from me ever. Damn. And of course, it was broken on Fightful Select that they did have a meeting in AEW, all talent meeting, and everyone. The ones who spoke were Danielson, Moxley, and Jericho. Those 3. And let's face it, those 3, whether you like Jericho or not, he has been pretty stable. And he actually has been surprisingly, I shouldn't say surprisingly because, he's a veteran and everything. But, man, he's really been an anchor for AEW. And the way he kept his composure Sunday during everything that happened and everything at the media scrum, that was very telling. In the midst of all this, he kept his composure, and all the reporters there that were asking questions, he boom, 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 and his tone, uh, and just the way he spoke, the way his demeanor and everything, it was like, man, this guy's pretty, that's a guy you want to follow. In the midst of all that, he's composing like that. That's pretty cool. So yeah, he mentions it, and it ends with Sammy and Jericho like, "Hey, look, I got a sexy ass. Oh, I got sexy ass." I mean, it was a typical Jericho jazz cheesy promo. In spite of everything, like if this was weeks before, it was like, this was kind of stupid. But considering what's happened in the last 24 hours or 48 hours, it was like, all right, it's building up to something. It's like, all right. Then we get the squash match between Wardlow and Tony Nese. And basically, he clotheslined him. Actually, no, he headbutted him, clotheslined Tony Nese, and then powerbombed him 3 times and pinned him. That was the match. And he got his hands on Mark Sterling, and he was about to powerbomb him. Josh Woods saved Mark Sterling. And Wardlow gets on a mic, and he's like, hey, people think the momentum's gone. The momentum's not gone. I'm going to remind each and every one of you that this is Wardlow's world. So looking forward to it. It was a decent promo that he gave. Like, it was like, okay, he's pumped. And you got that from a lot of people during this show, that they were really like, hey, this is my time. Let's go. If I'm not a star, tonight's going to be the beginning of me becoming a star. And that's the vibe that you sense watching the show. Then we get recap, or actually more of a preview video between Darby and Sammy Guevara and their history, and they fought some great matches, and they're fighting this Friday on Rampage. That should be a really good match. Looking forward to it. Glad that these guys they were TNT level, but it just feels like tonight the announcement of them being in the world title here is like, okay, most of these young guys are like, now they're up to that level, like boom. And I think if you really think about it with AEW, maybe they were anticipating, okay, 4th year they'll be there, but these guys have grown exponentially, and it's like, yeah, they were TNT level, 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, but now, no, these guys should be in the world title picture, like, because they have that momentum that they should be there. Then we get Adam Page versus Bryan Danielson, and you kind of sensed that Bryan Danielson was going to win, considering that he lost 2 matches to Hangman already. So, for me, I wasn't like, oh man, Hangman's going to win. It was just like, no, Danielson's going to win because he's won 2 world title. Hangman's defeated Bryan Danielson twice at the beginning of the year for the world title. It's like, I think Bryan Danielson's going to get this match. Man, there was a lot of Danielson working the submission holds on Adam Page's legs and trying to get the crossfade. Like, man, that is a work of art. Please see this match. Like, the work that Bryan Danielson was doing, like, it's like, oh man, like, you can tell, and I don't know if many of you have forgotten, but you can tell his influence from Shawn Michaels and Ricky Steamboat. And of course, Shawn Michaels is his trainer. You can tell because, man, the way he works the body parts and everything, man, it's such a work of art. But man, you had crazy chest chop exchanges. Danielson was working Hangman's arm. There was a point where Danielson did a jumping drop kick into the corner to Hangman. Then there was a part, man, Hangman Page did this at All Out, and holy crap, he did it again tonight. That freaking top rope fall away slam. That is some agility. It's a scary ass move. But thankfully, for the 2 times that he's done it, that I've seen him do it, he's connected carefully. But man, it's a whew. That's a scary move to see, but he got it. He got the move in, man. There's a bunch of "this is awesome" chants, yes chants. Daniel Bryan tried to get in the the crossface lock. He did a double underhook. Man, I'm trying to see what else there is just so much that he did. Hangman, at one point caught Bryan, did a power bomb on the apron. That was crazy. Then he attempted to do not a moonsault, but the buckshot lariat. Missed. Daniel Bryan did the roll up pin. 1, 2, 3. Danielson won. So we are getting Bryan Danielson and Chris Jericho next week, I believe. Yeah. Is it next week? Hold on. Let me check right now. Forgive me, guys. Yes, I believe we're getting it next week. And I believe the winner of Moxley and Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin will be on Rampage next week. So Danielson, Jericho next week. I like it. I like it a lot. Then you get a recap of Jungle Boy. Him discussing Luchasaurus turning on him. And, he says this line, maybe the giant anchor that I felt has been released, and maybe it's a good thing, and I'm going to make sure you find out what I'm all about. So we got a feud between Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus now. So see how that goes. That should be very interesting. That should be a pretty good match with that dynamic. Then we get a promo by Stokely Hathaway. He's about to talk in one of the I forgot what the hell you call them. One of the I don't want to call them timekeepers, but production people. There you go. They're like, hey, you got to wrap it up. We're close for time. Stokely Hathaway with one of the funniest lines. When I have a mic, you give me the same respect as your father. Damn. Oh, and then they wound up beating him up to was it the Gun Club and Ethan Page? They start beating him up, and then W. Morrissey just kicked the hell out of him. And then Lee Moriarty, with now green hair, looks in the camera. You got knocked the hell out. And they walk away. So it's interesting to see where this group goes. They do have an association with MJF. So they're like associated with MJF by proxy, not directly. So we'll see how this unfolds. But it's cool to see that finally Stokely has put these pieces together. It looks like a really cool faction. What's going to happen? I don't know. It's going to be very, very interesting. Then we get a promo promoting Rampage this Friday. Main event, ROH Championship. I'm looking forward to this match. We're getting Claudio Castagnoli versus Dax Hardwood. That is going to be a beautiful match, man. Whew. That's going to be a beauty. Man, it's going to be so much fun. Then in the main event, you had Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta. Daniel Garcia, you knew he was going to win this by the simple fact his entrance was badass. He had West Side Guns perform his entrance to the ring with his posse and everything. They come to the ring. As soon as that happened, it's like, there is no way Wheeler Yuta is walking away with his ROH title, considering Daniel Garcia came to the ring with West Side Guns performing his entrance theme. And they're in Daniel Garcia's hometown, which historically in AEW, if a wrestler is wrestling in his hometown, he gets the victory. That's just how it goes. So there's a lot of chops. Mind you, this was a pure ROH championship. And, the rules are you get 3 rope breaks. You can't, no open hand punches or anything. It's very strict and really cool. Love those rules. You had just chops, technical wrestling. Both men at a certain point in the match did belly to back suplexes on each other back to back. No pun intended. Then there was a belly to back suplex from the top rope by Wheeler Yuta. Then you had the Dragon Tamer, and at the same time, it happened twice. So Daniel Garcia had the Dragon Tamer on Yuta, tried to break out of it, then he did it again, and then Yu was trying, like, he had him in a crossface, like pulling his face, and then he just couldn't do it anymore. Tapped. We get a new Ring of Honor Pure Champion, Daniel Garcia. He's the champion. Bryan Danielson comes out, which was really cool. He grabs the title. They did have the Code of Honor where Yuta and Daniel Garcia, they shook hands. Yeah. Bryan Danielson grabs the Pure Championship. He puts it around Daniel Garcia. Jericho's on the ramp. He is livid. He's like, what are you doing? Again, Daniel Garcia and Danielson, they shake hands. Yuta and Garcia and Bryan Danielson, they all raise their hands, and Jericho's just livid. And that was the show for Dynamite. I really enjoyed the show, man. I enjoyed it. It was refreshing. It felt very enthusiastic. I like that they gave a lot of time to the future of AEW. And this was felt very WWF 1998 after the whole Montreal Screwjob thing. And not saying this was the Punk Omega Young Bucks thing was the Screwjob, but just that cloud of just, man, that happened, like, oh man, and just moving on from that cloud, like it just had that feel. And very looking forward to the next 2 weeks, especially that Grand Slam show. The reaction that MJF got, it's like, all right, how long is he going to be a heel? Because that crowd reaction was, honestly, his crowd reaction was louder than the boos he would get. Maybe that's just me, but that's like his cheers were louder than the boos he was receiving. And it's like, all right, okay, this is a little nugget he did, and yeah, he's the bad guy, but you got money there with him being a face. So I like that. I like Moxley's promo. Let's face it, if Moxley doesn't go to AEW, they don't have that enthusiasm and momentum going into the first Dynamite show in 2019. So him giving that promo just made a lot of sense. And if you have been a viewer of AEW since its beginning, you know that promo hits home. Like, hey, that's the dude. That's been the guy. The Danielson Page thing looked great. Man, this show was just fun to watch. There was a lot of intrigue. I think one of the things that a lot of people should not focus on is like, oh, they're gonna get real. They're gonna bring up, I want them to bring up Punk and Omega's like, no. They know their audience has been talking about this for over 2 days. Why should they bring it up? And of course, well, if the casual fan, why did they strip it? If they go on Google, AEW World Championship, you're going to see a lot of columns as far as CM Punk and Omega and the Young Bucks. You go on Twitter, AEW World Championship. Oh, it was vacated. Why was it vacated? You're going to see a whole bunch of stories because people have been talking about it for 2 days. And for those of you who say, well, they should address it, let me tell you something. The way our society is, and the way our society absorbs news content, is they absorb it through social media first, then TV. So a lot of you who say, oh, they should address it, like, no, people absorb their news and receive their news from social media first, then TV. That's how it is now. You may not, well, no, I watched it. Yeah, that's you, but you don't constitute everybody else. So, I mean, I liked it. They didn't get petty. They didn't bring up names, of course, with the reports that there could be legal action and stuff like that. It makes a lot of sense. Why? They didn't mention anybody. Just titles are vacated. We're going to have new champs. That's it. And I know, man, that's like cut and dry. And, well, there shouldn't have been an incident in the back in the first place. If there was no incident and if there was no media scrum comments being made in front of reporters, we would have CM Punk and the Young Bucks on Dynamite tonight. That's just how simple it is. So, I mean, it is what it is. But, man, tonight's Dynamite was very promising. It's amazing Hook wasn't there. But it does look like I want to see Rampage and just see next week. But it does feel like AEW could be going heavily into the young guys that they've really elevated and put on the map. Like, it does feel like, you know what? Let's elevate these guys. Let's put them in positions that we see them in, but now we put them with people, like, let's put them in that position. And this is going to be fun. And, you know, kudos to AEW. Every time their back has been against the wall, they've somehow managed to pull it together. And it's like, all right, you're back to doing what you're good at. And it, you know, let's face it, ever since, you can say this time last year, AEW has just been in this constant transition. And if you follow my reviews, I've been saying it. They've been in this constant transition, and it did feel like, okay, they're in this transition, but now it's just going to be boom. And it just seemed like nothing ever took off the way it should have. And now maybe this is all right, let's go. But I'm excited to see Rampage this Friday and what happens. Man, but like I said, man, this was a fun show. It was entertaining. It wasn't over the top. And, you know, maybe the match quality, mind you, it wasn't bad or anything, but the matches that we're used to seeing on Dynamite, there's like, holy crap, this was an amazing match. Maybe it didn't have that intensity or just that aggression and just craziness, but they kept things simple. It made sense. And looking forward to Rampage and next week's Dynamite. So that is my review for the September 7th episode of AEW Dynamite. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification so that way you are notified when House of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that, man, let's enjoy pro wrestling. There's a lot more pro wrestling. You got Impact, you got New Japan, you got GCW, you got all these other companies. Then you got SmackDown, and you got Rampage and stuff like that. Let's just enjoy wrestling, man. All right? Because it's been a wild 2 days. With that, I'm out.